Today I have Lizzie with me as our guest, and we're going to be talking about the beginner's mindset. And I'm so excited. Like we've had about this, and I just cannot wait, right, to listen to Lizzie talk about what it really, really means to have a beginner's mindset. Lizzie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh my God, I'm excited. Thank you for inviting me. I think this is a really crucial conversation for anybody wanting to cross the threshold from
Yeah.
from corporate to founder. So let's talk about it.
Okay, so before we get started, can you just tell us a little bit about your own journey, right? What you do currently and what you were doing before?
Yeah, absolutely. So currently, I am the founder of Human as Usual. This is a venture that focuses on hyper growth companies. We have a methodology and a capability to help focus hyper growth from a
Mm,
humanistic perspective, which we can talk about a little bit more if you would like. But I am concentrated right now in that. I have a firm belief that we can grow companies and we can scale up without
mm,
the detriment to our shared humanity. And so I'm dedicated to that 100%. And my trajectory, as probably a lot of your other guests, is coming out of a very long corporate career.
mm,
I spent 20, 25 years in the corporate sector in different industries, different type of organizations, leading large scale transformation programs. My
mm,
background is in
mm,
organization development, change management, operational leadership, and so I've been kind of combining all those skill sets into the leadership of big transformation
mm,
within corporate America. My last role when I graduated from the corporate world, it was a VP of transformation.
mm.
And I also have an academic career that I have been also kind of building in parallel. I have a master's degree and a doctorate degree in organization development and change. So it's been a long time studying and leading and practicing
Mm.
and trying to bring about change.
Wow. So after almost 25 years in the corporate sector, now you've moved into being a startup founder. My first question is, what inspired you to do that?
You know that I got that question before, and my honest answer is it's more like it's a rebellion more than an inspiration. I,
Okay.
but it is an inspiration too. It kind of turned out to be an inspiration, but initially it was my own burning desire to really gain more latitude, to be able to say, what kind of leader I can be
Mm,
beyond what I have been able to accomplish, and how can I do that in my own terms, and how can I show up in
mm,
the world to to speak up and to use my capabilities and my skills and my talents in the benefit of the things I believe are necessary. And what can I
mm,
build from there? I think the idea of being a founder, the idea of being a founder that inspired me
mm,
was this concept of being able to build something from scratch, that is something that is
mm,
your vision, right, that only
mm.
you can see, and then turn it into something others can see as well and benefit from.
Oh, wow, that's very, very interesting. Before we dig into this beginner's mindset, I know Human as Usual has a very, very unique mission. Can you just talk a little bit about that before we get into, the real gist for today?
Yeah, so the mission, the purpose, as I like to put it, of Human as Usual is to help mid-sized organizations, let's say Series C, scale ups, companies that are already in the trajectory of hyper growth, or companies that are in the mid sector that are looking to aim for higher revenue goals,
Mm,
to see themselves as a transformative power at these
mm,
organizations. When you look at them, together as an industry, have a huge latitude to really generate a different type of value into the
mm,
world, in society, for humankind. In fact, the line that I use to define human as usual is scaling generatively advancing humankind,
mm,
because I would love to regain this idea that, organizations are just a bunch of people working together trying to achieve something amazing, that can be inspiring, that can be creative, that can be fulfilling. And in the process of acquiring that, right, we create organizations that bring a ton of value out into the world and can help influence the way in which we live, right, in our societies. And so I see a huge potential for these companies to bring together ideas that are typically mutually exclusive, which is profit over people. I don't think that is true. I think we can be humanistic. I think we can have a shared humanity in organizations. I think we can have jobs that are inspiring and that are energizing while we pursue be successful, right? Economically, financially, competitively. I think those two ideas need to amplify each other. And in that process, create companies that perform solidly, that really tap into the potential they don't even know they have, and become iconic brands that everybody aspire to.
Wow. Wow. So you just to summarize where we are right now, right? So you did like 20, 25 years. Now you're launching a startup that is very, very unique, right? I know you and I have talked about it like a lot of times, and I'm just like, this is phenomenal. It's different. It's very, very unique. It means pretty much everything that you've learned before, it's like you have to start all over again. And then you're doing it in a space that, it's not like you have a lot of anchors and, templates to follow. So what do you think it means to have a beginner's mindset?
So it's a personal transformation. I do have to say that I from a business standpoint, it's more the way I look at it is a continuation of my career. What I did is take my 25 years of corporate career, my 10 years of academic career, all of the things I've done and tried and tested and succeeded, all of the convictions that I as a leader have, now settle on, and turn that into a business. So it's like the next chapter where I can actually land all of that and create something meaningful, that I can stand behind. But from a personal standpoint, it was definitely a big transformation from square one. I have to. I started in a place where I knew something was not necessarily anymore clicking for me in the trajectory I was going. I started recognizing that I could not see myself. My identity was no longer identifiable. If we could say that. In the leadership that I was building, I was moving up the ladder, and I was doing all these incredible projects, and I was creating all this impact in organizations, and learning also from all the failures and all the setbacks. But I could not see myself any longer in the title. I could not see myself any longer in renting my leadership to other companies. And I kind of began a transformational process for myself to figure out again where do I go from here? What are the things that mean something to me? But that didn't come without wrestling with myself, because you have developed an identity, you have developed a certain set of values. And if you don't have the title, if you don't have the corporate behind you, it takes a little while to recognize yourself or your own individual assets. And it's an ego strike. It requires a lot of humility to sit down and say, I'm not longer who I used to be. I need to let that go, and I need to let who I really am come out and take over. And that doesn't come without a little bit of pain and a little bit of self-reflection.
Wow, wow, that's a lot to unpack. One is like, you come to a place where I love how you said it, you just decide that I don't want to rent out my leadership anymore, right? I'm going to take a bet on myself. I'm going to leave the comfort of like corporate and having the big superpower behind me, and I'm going to go out and do this. And it's really it's quite tough from what I'm hearing, right? Do you what lessons have you learned through that process, that you think may make it easy for other people to be able to make that transition?
Yeah, I do have a few things that I learned, and I think most of the lessons are personal. I think again, I like to break it out between the business trajectory, which kind of is a continuation, but from a personal standpoint, it was really more of, yeah, putting myself first. And this is going to sound like
Mm.
what a lot of people say, right? But it's
Yeah.
true. You hear it. You hear people say you have to put yourself first. You have to come back to yourself. That is absolutely foundational, because
Mm.
without the understanding of what is moving you in this direction and why are you doing it and why are you closing a chapter to open the next one, it's really hard to grasp what is it that you can become. And so that
Mm.
was that was a big slap in the face for me. I really had to embrace the
Wow.
fact that I have to show up for myself, not my title, not my achievements, but me as a human. And in a way, that's where human as usual comes from that
Yeah. Mm.
realization that we have to do that for each other too. And so
Mm.
um, that's where it all starts. That's where it starts, and that's where it ends. I think
Mm.
another lesson learned that was meaningful to me is that you may be tricked to think that because you have this longer career, that's all you know and that's all you have and that's what you have to cling to.
Mm.
But the reality is that you came this far to become yet the biggest creator that you
Yeah.
can be,
Mm.
because there is a future out
Mm.
there that the world wants to see and has to see, that comes from you as an individual, right? As a leader, as
Mm.
somebody who has a mission. And so that was another piece that was important for me to embrace the fact that it's not a failure if you leave a traditional career.
Mm.
In fact, is probably the biggest opportunity to be free for creating that which you want to
Mm.
see happen.
Mm. Happen.
And that's a big risk in itself, but it's also, I think, a huge driver for why to make a move like this.
Wow. But if you have, so that what you're saying now is that we all need to get to a point of like self actualization, where that's the only thing that matters, where we just kind of like really put ourselves out there. I need to do this not only for myself but for humanity, because there's a change I need to see in the world, and I have to strongly believe that I'm the only one that can literally drive that change. And that's one of the things that really inspires you. And I know that that process is not easy because comes with a lot of insecurities. It comes with a lot of perception that you're going to be judged differently. So how do you deal with all of that emotions, right? Knowing that the startup world could get really messy sometimes, and most of us have had like a really solid corporate career. You have a personal brand. You have the way people have perceived you. You really like um make that jump knowing that it's going to be very messy, right? And then you're still going to lean into it with curiosity.
Okay, that's a big question. I'm going to try to be succinct. But I would say, first of all, we have to embrace that we all have these sort of talk inside of our heads. I also went and continue to go through shutting down the voice that tells me, who do you think you are? That is a huge limiting belief that for me has been rooted, and in embracing that I can actually build a company, I can actually put my vision forward. That voice, it comes back every day. Who do you think
Mm,
you are? Why do you think you can put something in the best benefit of humanity? You're not that big, you're
mm,
this small. And so I think becoming aware of that and know how to build a different relationship with that voice, where it comes from, right? Why is it sabotaging your energy and your enthusiasm? Is an
Mm,
everyday work, right? And it can bring us down if we let it.
mm,
So I've divided, let's say, my journey in four parts basically.
mm,
There is to your point of the messy middle. These like any change happens, and there's a beginning, there's a messy middle, then there's
I love it.
when you think you already made it, and then it starts all over again. So it's never ending.
Mhm, mhm,
But I learned through this transition to compartmentalize the journey. So I
mm,
have what it is for myself as a whole person. I built, created time for dealing with all these insecurities, processing them, reframing them. I found, mentorship. I found books. I found, things that can bring me um, information that can help me evolve, right? How I think about it.
mm,
This is where I think the beginner's mindset for me means a lot, because you're gonna have to unlearn a lot of things.
mm.
Being 20 years in a corporate environment, even if you resist to become one, you still have a lot of programming, right?
Yeah,
As a
yeah.
woman, of color, as a leader.
Mhm,
I mean, there's so many narratives, right, that you
mhm,
embrace, and you have to break
yeah,
with those because they no longer serve you. And
yeah.
I built that sort of lane of all the things that have to do with me personally. And I now, I'm not perfect at it, but I have built a
Mhm.
discipline to continue to work through that as I unfold the
Wow.
other parts
Yeah,
of it.
yeah.
Then there's a second lane that I also compartmentalize, which is my family, right? The well-being of the people I love. When I was in corporate, I embraced this hustle mentality. Everything
Mm,
was, it was waking up at 5 in the morning, going to work or getting on phone
mm,
calls. And then, my son had baseball practice, so I have to bring the computer with me and sit on the benches while he
mm,
was practicing. Everything was so blended. And I now decided, right, my family has a space, my son has a space, my
mm.
dogs have a space, right, my hobbies, the things that I want to do to keep an environment that is healthy at home.
Okay. Mm,
And then there's another lane that I abandoned through my corporate career, which was community. And
mm,
I forgot about that. I became isolated. I became secluded. Everything was my career and my son, my career in school. And right. And I
mhm,
forgot that there's a world out there, that there's a bunch of people out there who are also trying to figure out how to make their base in the world. And,
mm,
um, and I reclaimed that. So I started to learn again what it was to be in community, find those
yeah.
communities, choosing, being selective of who do you want to be surrounded with. Part of part of the reason why I changed my perspective of what it meant to be a founder was because I started meeting more people with the same appetite, who
Mm,
were inspired, and they were building things, and they were creating all these amazing tools and services. And initially I had thought, oh, well, if you go and be a founder, that's a sign of failure,
mm,
because of the mindset that I had. And then I started getting together with people who thought about it differently. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually really powerful. That is the kind
mm,
of leader I want to be. So
mm,
community was something that I have to relearn, and I have to understand how to immerse in and find the right fit for where I could build that community. And then the last, lane, if you will, was all around evolution and embracing
mm,
change and understanding, trying to understand a future that was emerging, and it continues to emerge in real time. There
mm,
is no certainty. There is nothing predicted. And that's where, understanding what it means to be generative is important to me too,
it's
because it's
important.
about, you are creating continuously, you are reproducing continuously, you have to bring your own energy into the game. in order to
Mm.
see a vision become a reality. And
Wow.
that comes also with the challenges of change, right? There's some
Mm.
times
Mm.
when you don't find a way out and you have to figure it out, and there are times
Mm.
when you resist it and you don't know why you're ever doing it anymore. But you have to find the space to move through that and understand
Mm.
how to get out of the rabbit holes.
Yeah. So the first thing you mentioned, what are the top five things that you had to unlearn from the world? Like, well, or maybe the top three things that you had to like deliberately unlearn because it's just a completely different, world out there.
That's, oh my gosh. Okay, the five things that I have to unlearn. I'm gonna think about that on the spot. I don't think I have reflected on this. First
Mm.
of all, I have to unlearn that I am good enough. I have to unlearn the thought that I'm not enough to go after what I believe.
Mm.
Um, that was a big one because I clinged to to what seems tangible in a corporate setting, right? You have a
Mm.
paycheck, you have a title, you have a you have an infrastructure that someone is already set there for you to
Mm.
just plain jump, free jump
Mm.
into
Yeah.
nothingness, right?
Yeah.
And start from zero. And so and I continue to learn that I am enough and that I have everything in me that is gonna help me stay resourceful when I need it.
Wow. Wow.
I had to unlearn. I had to unlearn that there's only one way to have a career.
Mm.
Okay. I like a lot of women and a lot of guys out there, right? We grow up with this mindset of you have to go to school, you have to get a degree, you have to go into a corporate job, you have to retire at a certain age. And I always I was always in conflict with that, but
Mm.
I still followed it. I still learned that that was the way. And if I didn't do it that way, then something was wrong with me.
Mm.
And I have to unlearn that, and I have to embrace that there is no time, there is no age, there is no gender, there there is not there's no limitations, right? To embrace a career as a founder, that it is in fact a career option.
Mm.
I have to unlearn um, to I had embraced my corporate career in one track. I said I'm just gonna do transformation. I'm gonna focus on the human side of things. I'm gonna try to help these big companies understand, right, that it is with the human capability that they can actually grow and change. And I focused on that only, and I did that at the purposely because I was never interested in finances or sales or
Mm.
that other
Mm.
side of the organization,
Mm.
which I supported and I embraced adjacently, but it was not
Mm.
my career direct path. And now I have to learn all of it, and I have to be good at it, and I have to wrestle with the parts of it that I totally like I roll, because if I don't do it, then I don't have a business, right? And we have to,
Mm.
if we're going to think about a business as a founder, as a CEO, those are the things that these type of leaders concerned with. And so
Mm.
I have to learn now how to be concerned about it in a healthy way to the extent that is necessary. Like I'm not going to overdo
Mm.
it, but I'm
Mm.
going to
Mm.
incorporate that part that I was missing.
Mm.
Let's see, I have two more. I had to unlearn. I don't know. I had to unlearn a lot of parts of myself.
Mm.
Um, this has been a really humbling process. If I'm completely transparent,
Mm.
I felt broken at some point, and
Oh,
I
wow.
thought because I felt broken, I was inadequate, and something was wrong with me because I saw the rest of my peers thrive and be okay with their trajectories, and I was here wrestling with my identity and my emotions, and now I'm this age, and I'm right. Like there's so many things that come to tell you how inadequate you are, and I have to learn not to listen to that, and not to
Mm,
that that's not reality. That you create your reality, and you create your
mm,
story, and you are the author, and you're not broken, and even if you feel that way, being broken is a gift, because it is through the cracks that light shines through. And I
mm.
wanted to find my own light. I want to shine my own light. I don't want to be anybody else.
Right?
And
Yeah.
then the last thing is that there is something magical out there, that we don't have control over everything, even if we think we do.
Oh, wow.
I was one of those people who I wanted to overachieve, and I wanted big, I want to go for the title just to prove myself, and I wanted to become a doctor because I can be an academic, and I'm an immigrant, and what an achievement, and right, like there were so many things that I thought I'm just gonna control these, and I'm gonna change my destiny, and I'm gonna give it
Mhm.
everything. And I arrived to a place of that probably couldn't even matter to begin with. I
Mhm.
appreciate it, and I have it, and I can use it now, right? It's always an asset, and I'm proud of it. But in the big scheme of things,
Mm.
um, I probably could have started here anyway.
Mm.
And so
Anyway.
sometimes we cling to things that are external, and
Mm.
there's something a little bit more magical to go find out.
Wow. I'm not sure I can top that. Like that, those are really insightful things that really, really have to unlearn. And I think a lot of people that go through this change or make this jump actually feel those things. One question I have now is you're dealing with all these, self-awareness, all these challenges with having a beginner's mindset. You're trying to unlearn a lot of things, and then you still have to run the business, right? Like you have to get the business running. Is there any to our listeners, like what's the tip in balancing both? Because you have a lot of work to do on yourself, right? And then you still have to make this business run, which by itself requires 150% of your attention anyway. And then you have all of this. How do you balance that?
I don't think I have to balance it, because in a way, the work that I do with my in myself
Mm,
clears the path for what I need to focus on my business.
mm,
And the clarity that I gain for myself, and the confidence that that gives me, that I can do this, removes a lot of fog that sometimes we have, that distracts, right, our attention.
mm,
And I can put
mm,
that into creating, and learning, and developing my capabilities, and going talking to my stakeholders, and my partners, and my alliances, and my future clients,
mm,
and my communities. And I think, in a way, removing the parts that confuse us as individuals
mm,
opens
mm.
a window for us to be able to focus. So you don't have to balance. It's not that I have to choose either or.
Wow. Mm,
It's just how my day goes. You know,
mm,
it has become that. It was not like that, but it has become that.
mm,
A lot of a lot of the philosophy behind human as usual has come from my personal realizations, both professionally and as a human. And
mm,
without the work that I do with myself internally, I would have never been as clear of what my mission is and what I want to
mm,
create. So
mm.
yeah, so I think they go hand in hand, and
Yeah. Mm,
at least it has for me, that I don't need to
mm.
make an effort to sacrifice one or the other.
or the other. Wow, wow. This is really, really, really good. I've learned a lot myself. What are the final tips that you like to leave our audience with? People that are really thinking, which is a question I get from like a lot of aspiring founders. It's it's like, how do I leave this, right? How do I start all over again? It's so difficult, right? Mentally, physically, financially. What are the tips that you like to leave them with today on, just taking that step and really believing in who they are, knowing that they are enough, right? Like you said.
Yeah. The main thing for me is, if you're going to do it, be clear as to why you want to do
Mm,
it, because
mm,
there's no right or wrong. You can continue your corporate career. It's an amazing experience, right? And it's a path, and it's something that it's completely decent, and it's something you can pursue. But if you're going to cross the chasm, you I what makes it solid for me is that I'm very clear as to why I am doing it.
mm,
I know that I took time to reconcile the reasons and the vision and my motivations and the things I wanted to put my energy on and the things I don't know what to put my energy
no,
on.
mm,
Those fundamentals are extremely important to
important.
commit, because you have to commit to either path.
Mm,
And I for one decided to take this direction without a plan B. I said, it the
mm,
moment I
mm.
choose this, this is
I'm
gonna be my
doing
full-time job. This is
it.
gonna be the thing, right? And
Mm,
yes, it comes with financial uncertainty, um, which you have to think through and you have to plan for and all that, right? Um, but even though there's financial uncertainty, because I'm so sure this is the path that I'm gonna travel now, I know it's gonna work out. It comes with a lot of faith that I'm
mm,
putting every ounce of energy and every ounce of love and thought into these, that I have no
mm.
doubt that coming from a place of alignment like that has to end up in something positive. So
Wow.
so
Mm,
yeah, I would say that's the most fundamental advice I can
okay.
give you.
Wow, this has been really good. I'm looking at the time and I'm like, can I extend this 1 more minute? It's been so, so insightful. Thank you so much, Lizzie, for being with us here today. I'm sure we are going to continue this conversation at some point in the future. But this has been really, really good. You can connect with Lizzie on LinkedIn. I'm sure she's happy to engage and answer any other questions that you may have. And we've come to the end of this particular episode. See you guys next week. All